Balto. This is an animated movie that I had seen before this video, but I kind of overlooked it. Back in the day, my parents came home with this DVD 3-pack that had Land Before Time and American Tail. I watched those quite a bit, and I enjoyed them. But the third one in that set was Balto. And I just didn't really ever get into this one. I didn't really have fond memories of it. It kind of just felt generic animated movie to me, even as a kid. And now that I'm older, I decided to rewatch it, especially after Saber Spark did an in-depth video about the trilogy, which now I'm going to do 3 separate videos on each individual movie, each one dropping every single week. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing my own Balto trilogy. If you haven't seen Saber Spark's video on the trilogy, it's very informative, very interesting, really good video. It's over an hour long. I'm just here to talk about the first Balto movie. And I'm not really going to go into all the detail he did. I'm going to kind of try and bring my own unique spin to it, though. Like I said, it just didn't really grab me. But I've had this Blu-ray for a while. It was like $10. You actually get this Blu-ray pretty cheap. And I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I remember. I think what's great about this movie is a lot of people do confuse this for a Don Bluth movie, and you can see why, because it handles things the way a Don Bluth movie would, right? When there's mentions of death, it's shown, or it's very heavily implied and shown very clearly on screen that even the smallest children can understand. It still has a happy ending and all that, just like every Don Bluth movie does. But the plot of this movie is this dog and their sled dogs are trying to get all this medicine back to this town to help these kids who are literally dying. And if they fail, they die. And so yeah, I think that's fun for kids, right? Death. Yeah, but there's some really beautiful sequences where they show them building the coffins of these children. It's really really good imagery that sticks with you after the movie. The music in this movie by James Horner, I believe. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He's a great composer. He did Star Trek: The Motion Picture and things like that. He's an awesome composer. Has a wonderful score to this movie that really has some great elements there. And this film also is very triumphant with its themes of identity and other things, with Balto trying to come up to terms with who he is, which is actually very powerful and then really well explored in this movie. With that being said, why this movie does feel like a very generic animated movie is the villain. He feels like a very cliche Disney animated villain. He adds enough conflict to the movie that I don't think he could just been removed, but he's also not interesting enough that I think you'll remember him other than his design. And then also the animal sidekicks. The goose was fine. He actually offers some emotional encouragement in the movie, and he's actually pretty well voice acted. But the bears, voiced by Phil Collins, were very strange. They were voiced by Phil Collins, was really well. And then they also just were very strange characters that really didn't really have a purpose in this movie. And I forgot that they were even in the movie until I did this review. Or, well, at least rewatched the movie for this review. The animation in this movie is good. It's not as good as other Amblin animation productions are, but it's still really solid. There's some great expressions, great designs. It's just a really solid movie. So yeah, this is a pretty fun movie that is forgotten, unfortunately, way too much. But I think if you're a fan of animated movies from the 90s, like Anastasia and stuff, this is worth a watch. If you like Don Bluth stuff, I think you'll at least get something out of this. Yeah, and I think it actually still holds up. It does definitely have its flaws, but Balto's a pretty solid movie that, honestly, I never realized before. And I'm glad I rewatched it for this video. Next week, we'll be talking about Balto 2 Wolf Quest. So stay tuned for that review next week.